Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cinema Lives podcast. I believe we are on episode 3. It's March 20th, 2026 when I'm recording this. And excuse all the stuff all around. I'm in a garage, but it's actually a pretty cool recording space in here. And I'm going to be talking about Undertone from 2026. And it's directed by Ian Tucson. And it's an A24 film or distributed by them. I believe they picked it up at Fantasia last year. And I was not a big fan of this movie. I wouldn't say I hated it, but I didn't really enjoy it all that much. It's very Paranormal Activity kind of feeling, and funnily enough, I think this is Ian Tucson's first feature film, but it seems he has been recruited to direct the next Paranormal Activity movie, so it's appropriate. But anyway, this is about a person that records a podcast. So, it's obviously interesting to me. But they record some sort of supernatural podcast where they talk about spooky stuff, and they start hearing things around their house and start noticing weird things and drawings, and some demonic stuff starts happening in their real life. And I just thought it was very tame. I saw a lot of things on like Letterboxd and whatnot, people saying this movie gets so nuts at the end, it becomes totally evil, which is bullshit. In my opinion, pardon my French, but it to me it went nowhere other than something that I've seen in 1,000 other sort of movies where people are dealing with satanic stuff. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of dull and didn't impress me. I like the idea of making a movie about somebody who records a podcast. I feel like I'm trying to think if that's been done. Obviously, there's movies about people who like host radio shows. Talk Radio is a really good one. It's Oliver Stone film with Eric Bogosian. But this is the main one I can think about somebody who hosts a podcast, and it's an interesting idea to have that be a horror film. But it's also pretty much but very similar to Pontypool, which is also about a radio host, and that's a horror movie about some sort of zombie infection that carries itself through audio. So I would definitely recommend Pontypool over this. I don't know how many people know about that movie anymore. It's a Canadian film from like 2009 or 2010, and it's directed by, what's that guy's name? Bruce McDonald, and that movie is really good. He did like Hardcore Logo, a couple movies that were Canadian classics, and what I now know is called the Toronto Renaissance era, with filmmakers like Adam McGoyan and David Cronenberg and Bruce McDonald. But yeah, I was not a fan of Undertone. I think it's derivative and boring. But I would give it a 2 out of 5. It's fine to watch one time, I guess. The sound design is fine. People have praised that. Sure, it's good. But it didn't impress me. Anyway, that's that. I'm going to move on and to talk about some other things I watched. I also watched Command Z, directed by Steven Soderbergh. That was, I believe it was released in 2023, so 3 years ago now, which is crazy. And it was released exclusively on his website. I may be getting this wrong, but I believe it's extension 765. And if you just Google Steven Soderbergh's website or blog, I'm sure you will find it. But I think it's called extension 765. And this is a movie starring Michael Cera, and it also features a lot of people that I wasn't expecting to see, like Liev Schreiber is in it for a bit, and who else? There's somebody I'm forgetting. Oh, I saw Stavros Holocaust for a brief moment. Roy Wood Jr., who's really good in it. This is it's kind of a series that he has exclusively on his website, but you add it all up, and it's like 90 something minutes. So it's kind of a movie in a way. Um, and it's about people in the future, maybe vaguely like the 2060s, sort of far in the future, but also not too distant. And they are led by Michael Cera, initially what is seen as a Michael Cera AI that's sort of projected in front of them, which in a visual way that I thought was really cool. But this movie's very lo-fi. I believe it was shot on an iPhone. But visually, I mean, Steven Soderbergh has a knack for this stuff. It looks really cool, I think. But this Michael Cera AI is a version of himself in the past that was, some sort of tech millionaire, rich person, and or billionaire even. But in the future, he's having these people that work for him go back in time, but they have an interesting version of a time machine where it's like in a washer machine, and they sit and have something connected to their head, and they drink some juice, and through that system, they can then go into people's brains in the year 2023. So it goes back to when the movie was released, and then they can basically, when they're in the person's head, they can say stuff and influence things, and the person thinks that's their thoughts. So they can influence things in this very specific time because they can only go to 2023 because they can only go back to when the machine was turned on. And there's also a window to where they have to go, like, do this within a certain time period. But they go back, and the whole idea is to influence people to, push us in a different direction to where we avoid climate change disasters. And it's definitely a message movie or series. It's trying to make a point about taking action now, and having it set in the year that was released, I think it's trying to say we're on a threshold, but it's trying to make a point to take action now, do the things that you can to change the environment, and that it is possible, and it's very optimistic in that way. And it's also just funny, and it's a fun time travel thing. I love time travel, and I really liked it. I think I gave it a 3.5 when I first logged it because, it's sort of rough around the edges, but it's because he made it just as a little, I assume he funded it himself. He just did it on the side, but looking back on it, I'd probably bump it up to a 4. I was unsure about the ending, but I would like to rewatch and process that a bit more. But it's pretty good. I would definitely recommend looking that up. Command Z, starring Michael Cera, directed by Steven Soderbergh. Finding that on his website. It's free, and you can watch that now. So, also, I watched Dennis the Menace from 1993, directed by Nick Castle, and who played Michael Myers in Halloween, the original one, where he was the guy in the mask. And this was at my friend's movie night, and we all have a little movie night that has become a bi-weekly thing, which is really fun. And I love doing that, and I always love when I can organize with people to do movie nights. It's become like where each person gets to pick a movie, so the movie night is every 2 weeks, and we go in descending order to where, we all take turns picking a movie. And, it's really fun, and I enjoyed Dennis the Menace. I think the last time I would have saw it, I'm pretty sure, I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure I've seen it before when I would have been 10 or under, and rented it from Hollywood Video. I'm going to assume from there. I think that's where we would have been renting at the time. And, I enjoyed it back then. And now, it's obviously got a lot of problems. It's, I was going to say a Home Alone ripoff, but, Dennis the Menace did come before Home Alone. But they're still capitalizing after Home Alone on certain things, like bandits coming into the fold and, getting in slapstick mishaps and hurting themselves and all that stuff that is in the Home Alone movies. And it is produced by John Hughes, but they're just cashing in. They know it's gonna work, and they're trying to make some money. But Christopher Lloyd plays the bandit in this movie, and he is creepy as hell. I don't, outside of maybe the end of Roger Rabbit, where his eyes are bulging out of his head, his evil cartoon version of that movie. Outside of that, this is the creepiest I've ever seen him. He just looks absolutely filthy, and he looks like I think it was Colin the Dude on Letterboxd, shout out, who said he looks like somebody from behind Winky's Diner in Mulholland Drive, and that's very appropriate. He definitely does, and it's very disturbing. But Walter Matthau is great in this movie. I love Walter Matthau. It's always fun watching him. And yeah, I gave the movie a 2.5 because it's not really great, and I think it drags a little bit. But it is fun, and a fun nostalgic watch. And yeah, check out Dennis the Menace. I think that was it was somebody else's pick in the group. I'm not gonna name names, but like, good stuff. Good stuff, Dennis the Menace. Find a VHS. Watch it on VHS. So, last one I'm going to talk about, News from Home. This is directed by Chantal Ackerman, who also directed Jeanne Dielman, which was voted one of the greatest movies of all time, or the greatest movie of all time, by Cahiers du Cinema. And I enjoyed this. It's an acquired taste, Chantal Ackerman's films. They are definitely slow cinema, and you have to kind of have an understanding of what you're getting into. But I love the idea of the letters. The movie is basically Chantal Ackerman has moved to New York, and while showcasing her surroundings, she is reading letters from her mother, who's, periodically sending her letters, letting her know what's going on at home in France, and telling her that she misses her. And, a lot of it can become manipulative almost, because she's saying, "Why aren't you writing back to me? It really makes me upset." And sort of like seeming to blame her for things that are going on, but but also just being a loving mother who just misses her daughter and clearly loves her very much. But yeah, I love the idea of showcasing an area that somebody's in and then narrating it with these letters from home, and the idea of being new to a city and lonely in a city. And it's very simple, but it's a really good film. In terms of, I gave it a 3.5 just because I'm sort of acclimatizing myself to these types of films, but I do think it's great, and it's sort of influential to me and the stuff I've tried to make. Working on some kind of documentary projects now, but which I will let you know about at a later date. But anyway, that movie was really great. 3.5 for now. It's on the Criterion channel. And that's about it for today. Next week, I'll talk about Project Hail Mary, which is the new film that just came out, starring Ryan Gosling, based on the Andy Weir book, and directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and 21 Jump Street and the Spider-Verse movies, or produced those. But yeah, I'll see you next week, guys. Check out my Patreon if you feel inclined to subscribe to that. That's Cinema Lives, patreon.com/Cinema Lives. And please like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And I also have an RSS feed. If you look up Cinema Lives on iTunes, you can find that, or the Apple Podcasts. It should be wherever you can find podcasts. And yeah, and check out Letterboxd as well. There's a Cinema Lives Letterboxd, and that can also be kind of a hub to find a lot of the links for the various things that I talk about at the end of the show. But anyway, thank you again, guys. See you next time. Bye.